So unfortunately, I was a bit of a technological buffoon and I double mic'd myself during the recording. So that's why my voice sounds all weird and a little bit annoying and clipped. But I thought it would be a little too unnatural to re-record it, just come out a little bit forced. So next time, no technological errors. Sorry. I just spent better part of 2.5 hours attempting this French hearty vegetable stew. Um, and it was quite possibly the worst time for value investment I've ever made in a culinary sense. Came out straight dog shit. That'd be cool to take a look at some American fencing magazine issues and just kind of go through them, talk about some of their design choices, and see if there's any room for improvement. And I just wanted to say like off the bat that any criticisms that I might bring up, it's not meant to be like an attack on the people who work on it. I just think that it could be leveraged in a more successful way, and it could benefit from some different stylistic choices. So we'll see when we get to it. Let's start off with I believe it's one of the more recent ones, the 2022 Nationals. Let me check if this thing's even recording. Okay, cool. So this was the issue that they put out for Summer Nationals this year. I was there. Uh, Div 2 Men's Saber 60th. Mm, pretty mid. Uh, but right off the bat, it took me maybe 4 or 5 like glances of just like going over this thing to realize that these are supposed to be letters. It's supposed to spell out nationals. Holy fuck. This is like one of the most illegible covers of anything I've ever seen. This was definitely one of their worst ones. And also it's just not great pictures that they picked, right? It's like there's literally no actual fencing going on in this cover. And I get that they're trying to go for this like, oh, we came together as a community and all this stuff, but I think is executed quite poorly. It's pretty busy. I don't really know where to look, and the letters kind of get drowned out by all the contrasting colors, compositions, and lines just going everywhere. So already not off to a great start, but you know what they say about judging books by their covers and all that. Right, we've got a pretty standard ad, some Balestras, absolute stuff. All right. Nothing much to say about the table of contents. Um, sick text, sick text again. This is a great spread. So, for once they've got some actual fencing going on, some epee, unfortunately, but it's a good shot. I like the angulation. It's a little more interesting than just a straight on side profile view. It is a good spread. I don't know about that font, but it's cool. Um, the T-Rexes comes off a little boomer out of touch for me, but very minor grade. Mm. Let's see. So yeah, so this is kind of something I wanted to point out is that um, they're doing a good job of it here, but generally I feel like the magazine tends to be a little text heavy as opposed to just kind of settling into like letting the images speak for themselves. And I think magazines are a primarily visual kind of media interactivity. No one really buys a magazine to read as ignorant or like dumb as that sounds. It's like it's supposed to be this very much style over substance media, in my opinion. I think the most interesting magazines really lean into aesthetic, and they have 1 or 2 articles, interesting stuff peppered throughout. But you buy it for lack of a better word for the vibe, or if you think that's like too juvenile colloquialism for you, the aesthetic, the atmosphere that you're creating within the pages. So I think they do a good job there. Uh, Not a great shot of this dude, but I do like the breakdown of the very easy to see at a glance who's top of the game in Division One, who's, online to make teams and stuff. So that's good. Um, it's just a lot, God damn it. It's a lot back to back to just have listings and words and just this is really a good tool for coaches, and maybe like, people who are actively like in that upper echelon of their respective divisions. But I think seeing as this magazine is meant to be geared towards the general populace and the community of fencers, and just statistically, it's like we're not really in there. It's not super interesting, so it's just kind of something to gloss over. There might be a better way to represent this information, maybe not putting it like right at the start, because it doesn't make for a good hook. It doesn't want to drag me further into the magazine to see what's in store. I'm just kind of flipping through it to get it over with. At most, I'm checking like one or two categories. Um, but yeah, I understand. It's a very dense amount of information, a lot of events and names to cover. So let's go. Oh, shout out Jaden Callahan. I like that guy. He uh he was at the Pasadena ROC, and I really like the way he fenced. He's got a cool on guard. Good job, Jaden. Cialis. It just kind of keeps going on, for far too long, in my opinion. This is the kind of thing that should be posted in maybe like a blog format, or just like quick links on their website. I think it's taken up a lot of valuable magazine real estate when there could be some more visually striking stuff in here. Like let's start putting posters in here, like little fold out posters they can tear out and put up. It's like I want to put up posters of Magnus Garbankiewicz and Daryl Homer and Khalil and all those guys. Like, give it to me. So this is one of the more egregious uh, articles or spreads that they have in here. So just right off the bat, fucking text, it's just a big block of text, and it's just not that interesting of an article. I understand it's important, and it's like maybe I want to know a little bit about this, but is the video replay really like what the average fencer who buys a magazine or subscribe to this magazine? It's just like the stuff they want to hear about. It's like, no, I want interviews from my favorite athletes. I want like some kind of cheeky like bout comments and stuff, like just observations and things like this. Yeah, this is a very boring spread here. And then side note, no offense, Jeff Bukans, but if you look in like any cool magazine or like major magazine, 9 times out of 10, they're not having, some high school photo. I mean, not to say that he's in high school, but it's like, high school picture day type photo of the dude who wrote the article. It's like I think that it's assigning yourself too much importance on the page, because it's like there's literally two images on this page, one of some random referees and the guy who wrote the article. You're not the interesting part, right? The interesting part is meant to be what you're talking about. So dedicate more visual real estate to that. Uh, it's cool, but again, it's not the kind of thing that you're buying a sports magazine for, or at the very least, like perusing a sports magazine for. You're perusing it for the sport, not infographics about training, ads, whatever. Uh, I mean, good for putting this in here. Good job. But again, it's important here. I'm not going to say anything bad about this actually, because it's like it's good that they're dedicating, kind of space to have this be in like the fencing community's like consciousness and stuff. And also, there's no real way to make suicide prevention fun and flashy, nor do I think it should be in a magazine. So good job, guys, for putting it in there. This is cool. This is it's an aesthetic change. It's something to break up kind of the what word am I looking for? I don't know. The somewhat stale professional aesthetic that the last couple pages have had. It's got a cool vintage look. and we're talking about something in the past, it all fits. It is actually a cool article. This one is cool. This is the most typical kind of like Sports Illustrated feeling article that they have. Shout out Nick and his lanky ass legs. It's good stuff. I think they're playing it a little safe in the layout. This is cool that it crosses over the boundary there. Nothing to write home about, but it is fun. And it gets the job done. Got something on Lee Kiefer, the Masialas people. I think this is a little bit of overkill, these kind of like triangles and stuff. When you're gonna interject, or not interject, but when you're going to put some sort of like little graphic or visual flourish to break up your image and make it more interesting, I do think that it has to have kind of a grounding or purpose within the context of the image. And these pyramids are, I'm an idiot. Well, I take it all fucking back because this is the Cairo stuff. Good job, guys. I'm talking out of my ass. Um, that's what I get for trying to be all pseudo intellectual. So actually, I do like the pyramids. Fuck. Good job. Mm, in memoriam page, I think that's cool. You're giving a spotlight to someone who has had a definitive impact within the community. Da, da, da. Baby repost, cool. And look, it's just like none of these are objectively bad things to talk about or bad articles, but it is so text heavy that it makes me not even want to bother. Um, I think there's something to be said for the type of mindset and attention span that you have going into a magazine. It's not the same thing as like going into a book or something kind of more long form like that. My mental expectation when I pick up a magazine is that it's going to be a lot of cool images, snappy, informative articles that are also fun to read. And, quite frankly, a lot of these are a little dry and text heavy. So coming into this with that expectation, it's like my brain is on a different mode. It's like on fucking Instagram mode, where it's like, I just want, I have hamster uh, attention span. It needs to be something more flashy and something more sweet. Let the images and the fencing speak for itself, in my opinion. So that one was pretty cool. Let's take a look at a little bit of an older one. It's 2020. So already this cover is much better than the Nationals one. It's actually fucking legible. My only critique, I guess, would be the interesting part, and the part that we're all reading this for, is the fencing. So why would you fade it out and put it in the background of everything? Um, you know, they've got the mountain there, and they're trying to let you know, like, oh, this is Tokyo. This is Tokyo. That's the part that should be faded out. We know it's in Tokyo. This kind of like little border image right here doesn't do much in letting us in adding, clarification. It says in big ass letters right here, Tokyo 2020. So I think that I would personally draw that to the front, and it's a good image too. Like they're contorting themselves. The body position is interesting. I believe that's Masialis. It's kind of one of our boys. So I think that should have been at the front. That's kind of just like a fundamental design flaw, in my opinion. Got the Balestras again. Let's see. Text. We buy magazines for text, for sure. The roster, that's cool. So much text. This is actually fine. These are like baseball cards, kind of. Again, I think the images they've selected are fine. I just think that they assigned the wrong amount of real estate to the images respectively. So the profile picture or the headshot, that's fine. But you don't need two headshot pictures essentially. One, tiny one and a long one here. I would much rather get rid of this picture altogether, know what the guy looks like, and then just blow up this image of them in action, pulling off their superhuman stunts. Just my 2 cents. You want to give the most interesting stuff the most amount of visual real estate. So these are all fine. Cool. Shout out Daryl. Shout out all the Saber people, honestly. You guys are so fucking cool. Dagmara, super sick. One of my favorite Sabres. Mm, Hurley's. Oh, let's go, Anna. Anna is so cool. And she fences like a beast. Taught me a lot about epee preparations and the ideal distance for that stuff. J Coil, super tight. Um, this is, like I said, this is the same kind of spread that they used for Itkin and Kiefer and the last one we looked at. I do think that they're a little too reliant on this. Don't be afraid to get a little bold with the layouts and stuff. Um, I would much rather you guys, um, lean a little far into left field and have to rein it back. But at least that's interesting, than just kind of this like hyper professional, very consummate, like clinical layout, I think. Um, why waste this space? You guys had pictures for the other athletes. Just stick some more fencing in here. There's no reason to waste this space with just kind of like a nothing graphical placeholder of the flag grayed out. Um, this is one of their better spreads. They're showing a lot more of the fencing, which is what we're here to see. Hooray! So overall, I think that art or that issue is more successful than the Summer Nationals one because the Summer Nationals one wasted too much time on boring fucking articles that are just pure text. This one is still text heavy, but it gets more to the point, shows more of the athletes, and shows more action. So good issue. We'll take a look at two more and we'll call it because I have a feeling that I'll probably end up repeating myself. Um, so this is a evidently a kind of like issue that came out either at the peak of COVID, January 2021. I don't fucking know. I can't keep dates in like the timeline or whatever in check post pandemic. Um, this this cover sucks. Somebody's taken fucking one over here, and for whatever reason, you felt the need to fill it with like stock images of doctors. Um, it's very obvious that they're like, you need to put out a COVID issue. Um, Maybe there could have been a cooler way to incorporate this. Like, I think it would have been much more fun and much more visually engaging to uh to have like almost like a cartoon or a sketch or whatever, of some guy kind of like point and lining like the little like COVID ball, like the little virus and stuff. It's a bit more tongue in cheek and it kind of represents like, oh, as a community, we're fighting COVID or we're fighting to come back and stuff. Instead, you have this very nothing image. And again, it's like you have the silhouette of the fencer, but my eye still gets lost in this like hodgepodge mess of like random stock doctor images. So again, I'm just being an asshole, but I do think it could stand for a visual freshen up. It's got some ads again. Fuck. Let's see. Ba 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 ba. Oh, great. Hella text. So much text. What is the job of a referee? Fucking run the bout. This is okay. This is more informative and more like, oh, how to restart your club, how to provide a positive, successful COVID reopening or whatever. But again, too much text. Eliza Stone, super cool. There's just not much. If I had one umbrella critique for this whole kind of thing, USA Fencing Magazine as a whole, or American Fencing Magazine, is that there's not enough flair. That they are far too afraid to to be visually striking and actually engaging. The content itself is fine for the most part, but it's just so boring visually. Like you tried here, right, to make it like medically cool, but it's just who cares? Like red gradient fading, like it's just not interesting. It's not what I am looking at the fucking fencing magazine for. You know? Whatever. This one is yeah. There's nothing to pull me in visually here. So I'm just like bop 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 whatever. Done. That one blows. All right, last one we're gonna look at. Fantastic cover image. This is far and above their best one that we've looked at so far. They have the fencer, in a moment of post-bout catharsis, being like, 15-14, whatever. Very cool. You have him interacting with multiple layers of the magazine cover. He's covering the end, you know. It's classic magazine, kind of like Vogue cover stuff. He's layered into the lettering. Good, good cover. This is kind of the standard stuff, or should be the standard of your covers. Let's see. Cool spread. Uh, and again, look, this time they decided to take a step out of the line, kind of like aesthetically, and they threw in like a little cell shading border on it. I think at the very least, it's more visually engaging than just a straight image. This is a great spread. You've got the emotions, the camaraderie, the fencing all on display. This is representing kind of the culture of fencing in a fun and engaging way, which I think is the job of the is what the magazine is like setting out to do. That's their goal. Tight spread here as well. It feels like this one they were more loose and fast and like willing to do layering and like having different elements of the page engage with each other, and it's just making for a visual treat. It's like I want to linger on this page because the images are cool and they're laid out in an interesting manner. And so now it's like, all right, well, I'm looking at the pictures, I'm already here, now I'm going to read this stuff. It's not just immediately like, this is fucking boring, I'm moving on. This is a great page. This is a cool ad. You know, they've got a nice balance of image to to lettering to type or whatever. I don't know. It's fucking late. And honestly, I'm really bummed about how shitty my suit turned out. So like half of my brain is still on that. But this is good, for lack of a better way. I'm just gonna sit here being like, this is so good. But yeah, it's like they're breaking up the monotony of the results and the listings and stuff with the fencing, which is I think what they failed to do on the first one we looked at, where it's just like list, list, list. Here they have it correct. Magazine, visual medium. So the vast majority of the page real estate is devoted to visuals. Great work here. Anytime, anytime Jeff puts his face on here, it just devolves into like this wall of text. Get out of there, Jeff. Or at the very least, just break it up. There's nothing here to break the text up. It is like so tiring on the eyes. And yes, you could make the argument that I'm being a bit of a Gen Z baby with like um, zero attention span, which is true. But I think that most people, like if you actually read magazines, you would agree. So look, it has been done to death. Hydration. Turns out that hydrating is good for your athletic performance. What a thought. That is just like a nothing. That is a nothing of an article. Kind of a waste of pages, in my opinion. No one is learning anything new from that. Drink water when you fence. Let's see. So they're going back. Anytime they're talking about stuff in the past, they kind of default to this faded outlook. I think that's fine. It's consistent and thematic. That's cool. Got a nice Paralympic spotlight on a really cool person. Um, yeah, this is a good article. This fan fucking tastic spread. You got, if you must go with the red, white, and blue, they nailed it there. It's very American, and they're doing what they often miss on, which is letting the strength and the power of fencing photography take center stage. I'll come back to this in a minute. I have a little bit more to say on that, but this is a good spread. The only maybe the words get a little lost because the leg is shaded in a bit here, but I think this is a very clean spread. Um, and then same goes for this that they did on Aki, Coach Aki. super tight. This is more of what I would like to see. Fun, stylized images of fencers or fencing things, and then you can put some text on top of it. Just because this image is so engaging and cool, I just want to stay on this page for a little bit, like I said earlier, and it's going to make me more likely to actually ingest whatever information you're trying to give me. I don't know about this one. This article is kind of weird. The Biles effect, I think it's a good thing to talk about, mental health in high octane, high stakes Olympic sports, but there's very little reason that there should be so much non-fencing imagery in a fencing magazine. They should have touched on the Simone Biles kind of like event that went on and the effect and the ripple that's had throughout sports, and then tied it back to fencing and interviewed some professional fencers and gotten their take on it. So I don't know. I don't want to linger on them too much. Um, I know that might have come off a bit negative, but I really do look forward to every issue of the USA Fencing magazine that comes out. So, in light of my criticisms, I thought it's only fair to critique my attempts um, at a fencing magazine makeover or cover. I'm very, very amateur at InDesign and Photoshop. So yeah, let's go ahead and just take a look at the ones that I've done. They are lacking very much so in the professional sheen that is on or evident on the USA Fencing magazine covers, but let's give it an honest look, and I'll be just as hard on myself as I am them. So this is the first one that I kind of collage together. I was trying to come up with like a very snappy name. I think that American fencing is fine, but I think it'd be cooler if they had like a more like punchy like oh later or like I don't know some shit where it's like this is like fencing adjacent, but we're not just calling it like the fencing magazine. So I was trying to go for something like really gritty and like punk and like so I was like, oh, one sport, Daryl Homer, high octane, saber, killing, blood sport. And then I was trying to do like a catchy little tagline. So this is supposed to be like a jab at baseball because I think baseball is the worst fucking sport um, on like mainstream television right now. So I was like, this is America's new national pastime. And I sent this to my coach, and I was like, "What do you think? Pretty badass, huh?" And he goes, "Oh, it's kitschy." And then like the veil like was ripped from my eyes, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like this is kitschy." Granted, I'm kind of a fan of stylization, like heavy stylization. Um, but yeah, the red is a lot. It's kind of McDonald's, red and yellow. Um, and I think my composition is not the best. There's a lot of like empty, kind of nothing space, and I did a piss poor job of cutting out Eli in a aesthetically appealing way. But I don't know. It was kind of fun. I still kind of like it, but like obviously I made it, so it's like I'm always gonna think that I'm protecting my ego. So yes, this is the first one I did. Not great. This is another one that I was working on. There's like I want to say it's like Eliza Stone and someone else. Why are you doing that? Sometimes my computer sucks and it just like sketches stuff. So this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna put the head in front of the Z. I'm gonna call it Ale. Like it'll be really cool. I like the image that I picked, but the little like article teasers down here at the bottom are not it. It came out incredibly like ketchup and mustard, and it's just kind of gross. And maybe this gradient could have been better. Everything could have been better, right? I got a little overzealous with the drop shadow and stuff too. But I guess it's like what I was trying to channel here was um, putting the fencing at the forefront and letting the strength of the fencing image speak for itself and dominate the uh, the real estate. I'm saying that so much, the real estate. Okay, this one fucking sucks. So this one I was trying to make like a very speedy like oh Saber's all about being fast. I'm gonna get something that really conveys speed. So I got like Kim Jong-un right here. I'm partial to like the idea that I had going on here, but the execution blows. Um, I was going back and forth with my buddy. He's like helping me because he has like a good eye for like design and stuff. I was like, should I have him like hopping out of like his original image and into here? Um, yeah, whatever. I think that it came out too Nike swoop-ish, this like little shape that I made. Um, I could definitely see myself getting like a cease and desist for publishing that or whatever. But yeah, they have like some woman saberist. Unfortunately, don't know her name. I just kind of found this image, but again, I think if I was in charge of the magazine and I had vastly more skill and experience in like design uh, than I do right now, and I could execute stuff better, my core idea would still be the same of taking a strong, simplistic image and putting that at the forefront. This is the last one I did so far. Um, my friends say that this is the most pleasing or successful one. Um, I don't know. You guys can tell me which one that you like the best. So this one, I try to keep it super simple. The original image I was using, this is the same one as the Ale's cover, Ale. But they had a black background already, so I figured I'd just keep that element and then use the red and blue as the borders and kind of just give it, playing it a little safe with this kind of like font and stuff too. It's like a little typical. It's not my personal taste leads more towards the Bloodsport kind of stuff because I'm just like I like Gonzo style. But I do think that this one has more of a professional feel to it. Like this could be the American Fencing magazine, as opposed to this being like maybe like an independent, like hyper stylized offshoot that is run independently of like the USA Fencing staff or whatever. I digress. I'm rambling. But yeah, so that was kind of my thought process going into this one. And then I tried to make another one over here, another copy of it with chromatic aberration, and I just fucking shit the bed. It's so bad. So yeah, maybe I'll revisit that one. But for now, this is kind of my personal best, even though I like the Bloodsport one a little bit more. Is there anything else I have to say? Closing remarks. Oh, yes. So I was talking about the strength of fencing imagery and photography in general. And this is kind of what I think the current magazine layout is lacking. Let's just go through a couple of these. To me, the what makes fencing photography and images cool is that, especially at the high level, like during a World Cup finals or like on the table of eight pieced and above, there's usually a very dark, excuse me, very dark background behind the fencers, so it makes the blades pop. It makes them pop because they're dressed in silver and white. Um, and you get them contorting, showing off the what's the word I'm looking for? They're putting their bodies into very interesting and contorted positions, and you get to see a lot of the musculature involved. And it's just the blade is a line that leads out from them. It draws your eye. It's very cool, and often I think that like this is such a sick image. Like just the way the blades are crossed, you can tell like they're charging and one's defending, and it's USA versus Russia. It's so classic. This one's super menacing and just mean. It's like she's just ready to fuck some shit up. Super classic. One of my favorite images of all time. Daryl Homer's jump parry 2 against Dolny Chanu, I believe is in like the 2015 Moscow World Cup. Doesn't get much better than this. He's airborne. Dolnachanu's taking that shit to the dome. It's fantastic. And you could have this as a half page spread on a magazine by itself, and that would be fantastic because there's just it's just so much like cool shit going on. I've used all my intellectual vocab already, so this you're gonna have to get degenerate Jeremy now. I like this one. Uh, I like this one too. He's sprinting forward, a lot of momentum here. the blade is being held very cool. The thread, the key, the God, I act like I don't fucking fence. The tether is leading out behind him. This one's just like showcasing like hella emotion. Got those big pearly whites on display. This one too, rip. Go watch Fencing's Longest Second if you don't know the story behind this image yet. But I think images that just put the fencers first and foremost, in the foreground. God damn it. Uh, are the most successful. And the stuff they're doing is already so sick and dynamic that you don't really need to add a lot of flourish to it. Um, so my real closing remarks on this whole thing now, this whole video kind of got away from me, is that the USA Fencing Mag often takes something that I think, and obviously everyone else in the community thinks is extremely cool, fencers doing their thing, and they make it a little too clinical and kind of boring sometimes with their stylistic and design choices in the magazine. Overall, what I would like to see is um, taking taking chances on interesting and unique aesthetic choices that aren't just like this is a professional magazine. I really want USA Fencing Magazine to be, or the American Fencing Magazine, something that I truly look forward to. And I think it could be a great conversation piece and something that kind of brings the community together for their releases. I just don't think it's being leveraged in the most optimal way possible. But I respect them for trying and putting in the effort. And, I only say these critiques because it's something I care about so much. And, I think it's fair that we demand better or just different, just trying something different from our governing bodies. So, the end. I'll see you guys in the next one.